Hi, everyone. This is Sam Silverman, Managing Partner of EB5AN. Thank you for joining this webinar presentation. Today, we're going to be discussing our One Tampa EB5 project with one of our recent investors who's joined the project, Bhaskara from India, who's graciously given us a few minutes to share his thoughts about his EB5 journey, selecting an immigration attorney, doing research on projects, and ultimately deciding to invest in the One Tampa project. So thank you again for taking a few minutes out of the day to join us and share your recent experience and thoughts and knowledge. I guess to start with, could you introduce yourself and just share a little bit of background information about your journey to the US and why EB5 was kind of the next step for you?
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks, Sam. My name is Bhaskara Ragangavarapu. I've been living in the US for last 10 years. And prior to that, I worked in the US on and off. I spent some time in the US in 2000, 2005, went back to India, and again moved back to India in 2015. And since then, I've been living in the US. I've been working in the tech space for about 25 years. I decided to invest or go through EB5 process to get permanent residency, to get permanent status in the US. That's my main goal.
And what kind of motivated you to pursue EB5 instead of just continuing on, previously under a work visa scenario?
Yeah, I mean, Sam, primarily, so I have been working for the last 25 years. So if I need to take a break, I can't take in the US. So I have to leave the country and then probably go back to India or other places. So that's a primary motivation. So I've been working tirelessly for 25 years. I think currently I'm in EB2 priority date sometime in August 2017. That's not going to happen anytime in my lifetime. So I don't want to wait indefinitely. I don't want to get tied to working. So I wanted to have the ability to take a break and travel around. So I decided to go with EB5.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And those are some of the same reasons that we hear from many of our US-based H-1B investors as well.
Yeah.
What can you tell us? Obviously, since you're in the US already, you were able to do the adjustment of status, go for the work and travel permit and the EAD. How important were those to you when you were considering making an EB5 investment?
Yeah, for sure, Sam. Those are the primary reasons for me to consider EB5. I'm looking to get a residence status, permanent residence status here. The first and foremost, as soon as I get that, I'm going to take a break from work. And so that's not going to change anything in my status, right? I'll still have my home. I can live where I live today, and then I can travel around. So that's the primary motivation for me to consider EB5.
Got it. And were you looking at any of the other visa options other than EB5, or did you kind of just zero in initially on EB5 as the best option?
Yeah, no, I haven't explored any other options other than the EB2 that I was already in the queue. Decided the priority date is somewhere around August 2017. Other than that, no, I didn't explore anything else.
Got it. Okay, so looking back, now you've filed your application, money's been invested, you're kind of through most of it. Going back in time, when did you kind of decide that you were definitely doing EB5 and then really start the research process for finding an experienced attorney to help with your application?
I think it started somewhere around April 2014, April this year. that's when I decided I'll go in the EB5 route.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And so, once you had kind of made up your mind, I want to
Mm-hmm.
do EB5, I know I'm going to need to find an attorney and also find a project that meets my criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that kind of process for finding an attorney? How many attorneys did you talk to? What was most important to you when you were considering, between one attorney and the other? What did that kind of identification process look like?
Yeah. So when I started exploring EB5, first I started looking at projects and came across EB5AN and a few others. I spoke to many many regional centers. I explored a lot of projects. And then through that process, I was introduced to my current attorney, and I think she seems to have a good success rate, and she's meticulous at her work. I spoke to her, and then yeah, I liked her work, and then decided go with Anahita Georgi, is my current attorney. Yeah, it's been good so far. She did a good job with my application, the entire documentation as well.
Got it.
And yeah, she has got always my interest as her priority, and she's good at like even listing out the risks involved with various projects or various regional centers. Yeah, she's thorough at her work and meticulous.
And once you had interviewed a few attorneys, you ended up hiring Anita George.
Mm.
What did that process look like once you had decided to work with her?
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take to actually prepare the documents, and were you working on nights and weekends? And how did that kind of documentation process work? And yeah, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, the documentation process for me is fairly simple, Sam. Most of my source of funds are from the U.S. My employment income employment and RSUs in the U.S. It's relatively straightforward. Yeah, I mean, it probably took me about a week to gather all the documentation. And I think Anahita took about a couple of weeks to review everything, and then she asked for additional documentations. I would say I think in a couple of weeks to 3 weeks she finished everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it went very smooth.
And I know you'd mentioned to me separately that you did interview, a number of different attorneys. What made you decide to hire Anita versus some of the other attorneys that you were speaking with?
Um, Anahita has been in the space for quite some time. She has got a lot of wealth of information, and she knows I think most of the regional centers I explored. So she essentially the reason for me to go with her is her experience in that space. Sam.
Got it. Okay, perfect. All right, so you hired the attorney, you did research, you
Mm-hmm.
ended up with Anita. A few
Mm-hmm.
weeks later, your source of funds documents, which weren't overly complex, were all prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So then let's shift the discussion over to some of the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of walk us through what that research process looked like for you in terms of finding a project. What were some of the key questions for you, and what was more appealing for certain projects versus others, and what led you to ultimately decide to go with the one Tampa project?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in terms of projects, I explored a lot. I would say I spoke to at least 4 or 5 regional centers, various kinds of projects, rural and urban. When I look looked at EB5AN projects, one thing is the information is very clear, transparent. Each project, anytime I can go to your website and then get all the information I need, including the capital structure, the financials. Everything is available. So I can do my own research and then decide on what are the risks I'm going to carry, what are the benefits. So that helped a lot, the information that you guys made available. And nothing is hidden, everything is transparent. So that was very good, working with EB5AN. Some of that is missing with other regional centers. When I was exploring some of them, not fully transparent. I don't see all the information that I need. I need to go back and forth. And sometimes even the project status is not clear. Approvals are not clear. There's many hidden risks that I've seen in many other projects.
Got it. Got it. You mentioned you looked at some rural and urban projects. What was important to you, when you were considering some of the rural projects versus urban, and what kind of ultimately motivated you to pick an urban project?
Yeah, and I was primarily looking at either rural or urban. Either one of them, I'm open. But some cases, rural projects, the finances were not clear. They looked more risky, and so most of the urban projects, at least the finances and the capital structure is clear, and then it's easy for me to assess. Okay, how and if let's say if I am a real investor, if I'm an investor in this, or if I'm a buyer, would I buy at the rate that the builder is planning to sell? So there's good information available for me to assess that in case of urban projects. It is easy to make a decision for urban projects. Some cases, yeah, I would say in most cases, are rural projects, that's hard to assess. So I wasn't sure what kind of risks I'm going to face in those projects. Yeah, I decided with this urban project.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. In terms of the job creation of the project, how important was the project being under construction and having a large job cushion? How did that kind of factor into your decision about a particular project?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, job creation is a primary criterion for a successful approval of EB5 application. That's important, Sam. So I see having all the approvals in place and then projects in progress. That's I would say that's already a low risk project, and I believe in case of a construction project, it generally it is a resource intensive, labor intensive. The likelihood of those projects meeting job creation goal is high. That's the one reason for me to pick a project such as One Tampa, which is already underway and everything is in place. And yeah, for sure it's going to need enough labor requirement and so job creation.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And it is important, right? So that's the primary criterion for an approval.
And in terms of the developer, I'm sure you evaluated, the developers of some of the other urban projects that you considered as well. What was attractive about the One Tampa project in terms of the developer?
Yeah, the developer seems to be well known in that space. Sam, I've seen their previous projects, and also they are they know Florida well, they know the market well, so that this is a safe investment to go with. Coulter it's got multiple projects. I think with you and even others. So their reach and then their expertise in that in that domain that attracted me to Coulter.
Got it. Okay. Okay, great. And in terms of the EB5AN team, I know you mentioned earlier that you did, speak with some of the other regional centers about some of their projects as well. What about your interactions with our team just made you feel comfortable that, this was going to be a good investment and, that you were getting, the right information that you needed?
Yeah, as I said, Sam, I spoke to you first, and then I spoke to many other regional centers. One thing I liked about EB5AN, when I was speaking to you or others, you never tried to oversell. You presented the facts. You also you understood what my situation, and then you suggested a few projects, but you're open to anything. You didn't push for anything. You didn't aggressively follow up. In fact, you never followed up. And you're very transparent. The information that you provided is very clear. So that makes the investor comfortable looking at everything, the capital structure, the safety cushions that the project has got. And I said, your team never tried to oversell. You presented the facts, and then that's what matters for me.
Great. Well, I'm glad you felt that way and ended up choosing one of our projects.
Yeah.
So now, now that you've invested the funds, you filed your application, what, looking back at this process, what is some advice that you would give to others, like you, already in the U.S., likely on H-1B, don't want to be working forever? What advice would you have to others in a similar situation who may be considering an EB5 investment in early 2025? Like in terms of hiring an attorney or picking a project?
I mean, again, start with attorney. That's going to make the process faster. In fact, in my case, I delayed finalizing attorney. That kind of delayed my process. I mean, even before you choose a project, I think you should have an attorney. And when it comes to project, go with whoever is very transparent, that they provide all the information that you're looking for, including the project finances and builders and all the investors in the project. I mean, and think of as if you're making spending your own, investing your money, as if you're it's your own company. Let's say if you're investing your own money in your company, so and assess everything, understand all the risks, and be prepared for it. That's pretty much Ask all the information that you would ask if you're making your own investment into a company. It's like any other investment.
Yep. And just looking back, would you recommend your EB5 attorney, Anita, and EB5AN to other investors considering EB5, and why? Like, why do you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would recommend Anahita. I would certainly recommend EB5AN. Again, as I said, EB5AN team has been very transparent with their process. They provided all the information that I am looking for. And EB5AN has got, I think you have many previous projects, and you are in this space for quite some time. And you're serious about your work. yeah, I like that that fact, and yeah, I would strongly recommend anyone considering EB5 to certainly consider EB5AN.
Great. Thank you, Bhaskara, for taking a few minutes to join us today to share your experience and your process in terms of hiring an attorney, evaluating a project, and ultimately pulling the trigger and making an investment. Just a month ago now at this point.
Yep.
So yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate all your help. It was great working with you and your team and Anahita as well.